Good morning students. Today we are going to discuss about the sexual reproduction in flowering plant, that is chapter 2 of second year classes. Here you see the in a flower that is modified stem. The stem is compressed at its tips or its lateral side of the main tree, and that means the flower position is always terminal or lateral. And here you see the stem is compressed into a disc-like structure. The disc is called thalamus, and it accommodates 4 different parts of the flower. Each flower consists of 4 different parts, and in such flower 4 different parts are present, so they are called complete flower. In some flower the 4 different parts are absent, then it is called incomplete flower. Next is the parts are: outermost part is the calyx, next part is the corolla, next part is the androecium, and inner part is the gynoecium. Here you see the calyx units are called sepals. Next part, corolla units are called petals. The male reproductive organ called androecium, the units are called stamen, and the female reproductive organ is the innermost part, and it is called gynoecium, and the units are called carpel. The calyx is the outermost one. Next hole is the corolla, and these two are not directly involved in sexual reproduction of flowering plant, but it helps in sexual reproduction to some extent, and these are called accessory hole. The calyx is mostly green in color, and it protects the flower in its bud stage, and then since it is greenish color, so it helps in photosynthesis and provide nutrition to the developing flower. It is the reproductive part of sexually reproducing plant, and here you see the corolla is brightly colored, or they may be white or colorless, or they may provided with honey gland, or some scents are present. So this is the main purpose of the corolla, is to attract some kind of pollinating agent for pollination. Since pollination helps in transfer of pollen grain or male spore or gamete from one flower to another flower, so it helps in pollination. Next part is the male reproductive part. It is called androecium, and the units are called stamen. Each stamen consists of a long thread-like structure. It is called filament, and at its tip 2 lobed anther are present. Each anther consists of anther lobe consists of 2 sac-like structure. These are called pollen sac or microsporangium, where microspores are formed. Next, innermost hole, it is called carpel. It is actually called gynoecium, and the units are called carpel. The carpel, each carpel consists of a tip or opening, that is called stigma, then a tube-like structure, that is called style, and the lower solen part, it is called ovary. Inside ovary, ovules are present. So in the male reproductive organ, male spore and male gametes are formed. There are 2 processes occurred. One is called microsporogenesis, and second is called microgametogenesis. And in the female reproductive organ, 2 processes are occurred. One is called formation of megaspore, that is called megasporogenesis, and second is the formation of egg, that is called megagametogenesis. So these parts are distinctly given in this flower, and you can see with the help of this slide about the different parts of a flower. Next slide, you see the here is the flower consists of dissected part of the ovary, where the stem also shows the xylem and phloem and cambium, through which the nutrition and water provides to the developing flower. So if there is any doubt, you can ask. Next slide, here you see the male reproductive organ and female reproductive organ. Male reproductive organ shows the stamen connected with the 2 lobed anther, and inside there is microspore formed, and this sac is called microsporangia or pollen sac. Similarly, the innermost hole is called carpel, and the lower base is called ovary, and here perianth is present. Sometimes the calyx cannot be identified, and it is called perianth. In next slide, you see the life cycle of a flowering plant. The plant, when germinate and form from a seedlings, it in its mature stage form a flower, and the flower, here you see the stamen, and from the stamen pollen grains are formed. Pollen grain mature and then develop into two male gametes that enters the carpel, and where fertilization occurs, and inside the ovary the fertilization occurs with the egg, and egg when fertilized it ultimately develop into embryo. So this is the full life cycle how it occurs. First, during the formation of microspore or the microspore mother cell by meiotic division form microspore or pollen grain. Secondly, from each pollen grain two male gametes are formed. Two male gametes are also called sperm or male gametes. In female gametophyte, here you see the megasporogenesis occurs, and the megaspore develop into egg or embryo. So this is the full life cycle of flowering plant. In the next figure, you see how the megaspore develop into a mega embryo set, and how the egg is fertilized. I think this is the last slide in our presentation here. So in our Google Classroom also you can see these parts. So thank you students for today's class. Also go into the Google Classroom and first go through the textbook part, that is the different parts of a flower, what is bisexual flower, what is unisexual flower, and then come to these slides. There are also other video YouTube slide in Google Classroom. You go through it, and in our next class we will discuss in detail about the microsporogenesis and microgametogenesis. Thank you student. Have a good day.